philosophy. The word itself makes some people picture a guy in a toga, staring at the stars, mumbling, What is life? But let me tell you something. Philosophy isn't just for brilliant, eccentric thinkers. In fact, it's what you're doing right now when you pause for a moment and wonder why your coffee's cold, why traffic exists, or why your life feels like a sitcom with bad timing. We humans are naturally curious. We can't help wondering about the world and our place in it. And thanks to this weirdly awesome brain of ours, we don't just wonder. We reason. And reasoning. That, my friends, is philosophy in action. Transition. Animation. Showing ancient Greece and China. Philosophy didn't start with some aha moment in isolation. The first philosophers in ancient Greece and China were just people dissatisfied with the usual answers religion and custom gave them. They asked questions like, why does the universe exist? What is life made of? And crucially, they talked. A lot. They debated, they argued, and they built schools to teach not just what they thought, but how they thought. Take Socrates, for example. The guy left no books behind, nothing. And yet, he's the OG philosopher. Why? Because he questioned everything, including what everyone else thought they knew. His superpower. Knowing he didn't know. Sounds paradoxical. Exactly. That's philosophy. Plato, his student, captured these conversations as dialogues. Arguments, counter-arguments, questions, more questions. Philosophy isn't a monologue. It's a discussion, a debate, a game where no one really wins, but everyone grows. And even after Socrates, philosophers have disagreed fiercely. Plato versus Aristotle. Total philosophical W. Their debates are still shaping how we think today. Why? Because philosophy is less about answers and more about asking better questions. The first philosophers were like toddlers in a giant playground. They stared at the earth, the stars, the sun, and said, wait, what's going on here? They didn't settle for myths. They wanted reasons, explanations, something that made sense. That's where metaphysics comes in. The study of existence, reality, and everything in between. Questions like, why is there something rather than nothing? Do things exist independently of our minds? Is there an immortal soul? Deep stuff, right? And then comes epistemology, the study of knowledge. How do we know what we know? Is knowledge learned or innate? Can reasoning alone give us truth? Because if we can't trust what we know, then, well, life's a big game of guess what's real. Now, reasoning needs rules. Enter logic. Logic is philosophy's version of a workout plan for your brain. You start with premises, work step by step, and ideally arrive at conclusions that make sense. Sounds simple? Not really. Even Aristotle's rules got challenged by 19th century method, and ancient paradoxes like Zeno's made flawless arguments look ridiculous. Language complicates it further. One word can twist an argument entirely. Philosophers realized, if you can't communicate precisely, your reasoning collapses. This led to philosophy of language. Philosophers began asking, what do words really mean? If we can't agree on the meaning of justice, beauty, or virtue, how can we argue about them? And that's exactly what Socrates did. He made people uncomfortable by asking, wait, what does justice even mean? And they hated him for it. Philosophy doesn't stop at the brain. It jumps straight into life. Ethics. What is a good life? What does justice mean? How do we find happiness? Aesthetics. What is beauty and political philosophy? How should society run? Plato wrote The Republic. Marx wrote The the Communist Manifesto. Philosophy is basically asking, if we had the power to design the world, what would it look like? Interestingly, Eastern and Western philosophies start differently. Western thinkers start with metaphysics, reality, existence, knowledge. Eastern thinkers, like those in China and India, often start with morality, society, and harmony. But in both cases, philosophy is about asking questions, not blindly following dogma. Philosophy isn't stuck in a tower. Logic became math. Metaphysics inspired science. Ethics shaped politics. Questions about consciousness evolved into psychology. Philosophy gave us methods to explore the world systematically, long before modern science even existed. In fact, thinking like a philosopher is like having a cheat code for curiosity. It connects everything, from art to politics to science. And here's the best part. Philosophy isn't just for nerds or academics. It's fun. You get the thrill of discovery, the joy of questioning, the satisfaction of forming your own ideas. Not ideas spoon-fed by society, teachers, or religion. It's like a mental gym where your brain gets stronger, sharper, and more playful. Bertrand Russell called it starting with the obvious and ending with the absurd. Exactly. That's the magic of philosophy. It stretches your mind while keeping you humble. You'll meet characters along the way, witty, charming, annoying, brilliant, or grumpy. Hume delights you with clarity. Schopenhauer persuades, while making you think he's grumpy. Descartes reminds you to question everything, even yourself. And yet, despite their differences, they're all inviting you to think. Really think. In a world full of noise, fake news, and opinions masquerading as facts, philosophy is more relevant than ever. It teaches us to question, reason, and critically evaluate, to not accept the first answer that comes along. It makes us smarter, wiser, and yes, a little more humble. Because the beginning of thought, as Eric Hofer said, is disagreement. Not just with others, but with ourselves. So, next time you pause and wonder why the sky is blue, why people are the way they are, or why life feels so strange, congratulations, you're doing philosophy. And maybe, just maybe, that little spark of curiosity is the most important thing you'll ever carry. Think deeply, question boldly, wonder endlessly, like, share, and comment. What's the one question you've always wanted to ask, but never did?